Welcome back to the Inward Nine, a Fantasy Golf Metrics production. My name's Jeff Ulrich. And after a week off, we're back to regular PGA broadcasting. We got the nice solo event with the Wells Fargo Championship. Hopefully had some success in betting or something with the team event. I know I had some success betting in Europe last week. Get to that. That was pretty awesome. But week off for fantasy with the Zurich Classic. Billy Horschel, Scott Piercy. Scott Piercy, a guy most people are, I think, mad won because they didn't get on him. But those two guys took it down. I had a little bit of money on Scott Brown, Kevin Kisner. Didn't get it done, but we can talk about that and a lot more going forward. Fantasy Golf Metrics at FG Metrics co-founder Stephen Richter is with me as always. How's your week off, man?
It was good. It's not something where I don't like the event. I like the idea of having the team event. It's just not as easy in my mind to handicap because there's so much, variation with the shot to shot. Even if a guy's playing well, it doesn't really mean it's going to be the best thing for the team. But yeah, it was fun. I mean, it was interesting. Piercy and Horschel, two guys we've been kind of betting the last couple of weeks too. I mean, listen, like you said, everyone hates to miss out on Piercy because they feel like they haven't penned. But those guys played well. I mean, they've been playing well. It's just too hard to really tell. So I didn't mind taking it off.
Yeah, so far for 2 years of this event, it's been one of those events where it looks like fading the high-priced players as far as like betting odds might be a good strategy. I think Piercy and Horschel were like 50-1 or maybe like 45-1, so they weren't even that huge value. But yeah, Scott Piercy is a guy, obviously he's like first in strokes gained approach, I think, coming into the week, or top 5 in strokes gained approach. We've been on him a couple weeks, so I mean, we were kind of in that group, especially you, I know, had him pegged a couple weeks. Kind of annoying, but that's the way golf betting goes. You're not going to hit everyone's win, or else you'd be rich. But we wouldn't be doing a podcast. But it was interesting format. I agree. I feel like the format is good. Maybe they just need to tweak it a little bit or something and make it a little more. I don't know. Maybe make it like match play on the last day. I don't know, something like that. But it's an interesting event. I'm kind of glad it's over. But Wells Fargo this week. Pretty good field coming up. We got 2 weeks to the Players, so we're kind of into that like major championship season where we get the Players, the U.S. Open coming up. So it's going to be good. Hey, and if people had some success over in the China Open there for DraftKings too, DraftKings actually ran a few bigger contests for that. That's good too. I hit Alex Bjork as an outright winner, and I had Jordan Smith and Lucas Beauregard. I don't know how to pronounce his name. I had them both top 5 though, top 6, whatever they finished. So that was a good week for me, but it was a good week off too, and I don't know, I'm glad to be back at it for the Wells Fargo. This is an interesting event. I mean, I don't know what your thoughts on the course are, but they've totally revamped Quail Hollow for the PGA Championship. I think it was the toughest course last year overall.
Yeah, I mean, I really like the course. Obviously, a ton of data. They've been playing here since as far back as there's shot length data, so a lot to look at there. A lot of key indicators, but like you said, they kind of did revamp it for the PGA. So, I obviously don't expect it to play that difficult. I think they've let some of it grow back in and things like that. But it'll be interesting. I think it's safe to look at what we've looked at in the past, but you never know once they make changes like that what really is going to be the outcome.
Well, and it was interesting when I went on the Fantasy Golf Metrics course profile today because you have 2 course profiles up there, one from last year and one for like the long course history of the pre-renovations. But just looking at last year's data from the post-renovations course, the course is basically going to be playing this year. Like driving distance for the top 10 was like 14 yards more than the average top 10. Yep. Strokes gained tee to green was a lot higher too. So, and you can look at that if you're a Fantasy Golf Metrics subscribing and go to the course profile tool. Really cool, just give you an idea how the course plays every week. So, but that was 2 things that jumped out at me right off the bat. Is there anything else like that you were kind of seeing?
No, I mean it's a big course. It's a big ballpark. Yeah. We have driving distance and strokes gained off the tee both up there in our key stats. You need to hit it. You need to get it out there. The average driving distance of the winner, here is well over 300. Most of the time it's in the upper 2s. So, it's a mix of all things. I mean, it can be a very difficult course. It's definitely a lot about ball striking, but it's a great track. A lot of great winners here. Obviously, Rory, Ricky. You got, I think, JB Holmes. You got a win here.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah, so a lot of like more common names. Obviously, Webb, local guy. So, like you said, a lot of big names playing this week. A lot of big names winning. Obviously, the Big Cat is back. So, it's definitely. I look forward to this event because I do think it's always one of the better events. It gets you really excited before the players. So, beautiful course. Close friend of ours got married there. Got to be down there. It was a really cool setup. So. Yeah, I'm just kind of excited to get back to normal golf too.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. Normal golf. Yeah. No kidding. Hey, but yeah. I mean, the field this week is interesting because usually we get like one or two top players. Like Rory always plays, and I think Ricky almost always plays there too. But to see Justin Thomas, Jason Day, Hideki, and Phil and Tiger, I mean it feels like a pretty high end event. So, and I mean we are the week before the players, so it's not like a week before the major, but it almost feels like that in a sense because obviously the players is a really big event. I mean it's the fifth biggest event of the year essentially in the world. So to get a field like this before the players feels kind of cool. It is going to be interesting though because just looking at the field with Rory and Thomas and Ricky, you feel like one of these guys are going to ship it. But at the same time, we've seen this year, like these top guys, not necessarily just going on runs. I mean, they've all kind of taken a win here or there, but none of them's really gone on a dominant run. So it's going to be interesting to see if like Rory can pick up his second win or JT, or if Ricky can finally get on the board. But I don't know. What are your thoughts on the top tier this week? Who's I know obviously we're a little bit behind in schedule this week with a few things. We don't have the survival guide to look at yet. That'll come out tomorrow on Fantasy Golf Metrics. But what are your thoughts, just subjectively, on the top four, top five guys?
What I'll tell you is a lot of the guys that we've liked recently, I'm gonna like this week. JT, definitely like him. Still like Norin in terms of a couple higher end guys. Simpson, I think he's not one of the top couple, but he's priced up there a bit. Definitely like him. Ricky, obviously he played well at Augusta, and we liked him there, but it was more of a gut play in the end. He didn't really. He still hasn't shown enough of the stats where it's going to get me too excited. And then Rory, he's hit or miss. I think he obviously disappointed, not getting it done on Sunday. So it's a good narrative field. I think it's a lot to talk about, especially ahead of the major season and obviously the players coming up. So like you said, I think any of these guys can win. I mean, Jason Day, he's a guy that's kind of getting interesting for me again. So yeah, I think one of the bigger names is going to come out on top this week.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I won't be shocked at all. And I mean, we just went over the top four there. I mean, Rory has been dominant at this course in this past. I will say this: I feel like the fact he was toughened up a little bit might hurt him a little bit in the long run. Just how he performs at this course. Not saying he can't win or something. It's still set up really well for him. But at 11-8, especially on DraftKings, you're going to need him to win because, he's $500 more than Justin Thomas, which I find a little surprising, especially with Justin Thomas's course history here. So, something to consider. I don't mind Ricky. I do feel like, again, he's probably not going to be my top choice, though, just because, again, I feel like the course setup, the length off the tee, maybe it's not like a perfect fit for Fowler necessarily, but he did finish T5 here last year, but he was in pretty good form for the majors at that point, so we'll have to see. Guy like Jason Day is interesting. He was actually playing pretty well. I don't know if you remember at the PGA last year, and then I think it was on the 18th. I think it was like on Saturday or something. He just made like one of the most boneheaded decisions ever.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, I forget exactly what it was. I just remember seeing a big number.
He tried to go for the green. I can't remember if he was behind a tree or like it plugged in a bunker, and he just ended up hitting it so far right that it was like buried in a bush, and then he tried to hit it out of the bush. And I think he put up like a triple, but I'm gonna have to go back and look that up because it was a really, really dumb decision. But he was in contention, so I mean, something to consider at the very least. Definitely a guy. I mean, he played last week, so maybe shook off a little bit of rust. But the guy's got my definite attention this week. He's only 9,400, but I feel like this is a good bounce back spot for Hideki. We don't have a ton of data on him. Obviously, the Masters didn't have strokes gained stuff, and he was off for a while. But what are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, he's definitely the kind of guy that I like this week, and I think it's a great price for him. Getting suppressed by some of the bigger names. We added him late at Augusta. Didn't really do what we hope. But yeah, this is definitely a strong track for him. So I like that call. He's definitely gonna be a guy I'm gonna be kind of prying into a little more.
Yeah, course history is really good here too. I mean, 4 made cuts out of 4. Progressively better form too. Like 11th here in 2016, then T5 here last year. Obviously, I think he's in the final group at the PGA Championship. So I think it's a great, just from a pure sort of, Matsuyama coming back from injury. He could get his season sort of started, so to speak, with a win here. I think it's a nice spot. And going down, you got Phil and Tiger next in the salary there. I don't know. I mean, what do you expect from these two guys? I mean, we're talking about two guys in their 40s. They played a lot early in the season. Now they're coming off breaks. I don't know. Is it just one of those weeks to wait and see? Do you think?
I don't know. I see Tiger at 9,100, and I first look at it, and it's like it's becoming approachable. Just because of how many guys are above him. But at the same time, if you're constructing a lineup and he's in there, it's really hard to take another person much above that, and then not feel like you're cheating yourself. So I haven't really made any lineups or looked at how that might go. But at 9,100, he's kind of intriguing just because. The last time he was out there, he was one of the top 3 or 4, for Augusta. So I think it's a little different pricing scheme this week. So maybe you don't get crushed by the popularity, but you don't feel like you're overpaying for him because he has shown he's played well enough. But when it comes to Phil, I mean, he's won here, right? I think this is a good track for him. I feel like guys that just drive it, even if they're not driving it completely accurate, have found a way to win here. So. I know you need to, be accurate. There's a lot of some hazards and some issues up and down the sides of, some of the tee shots. But for the most part, they've been able to get away with just kind of raw power.
I don't think Phil's actually won here, but he's finished inside the top 5 like 10 times.
Yeah, I knew it was just a good history. I don't know if he actually won. I think
he does like it's an insanely good history. Like he's I'm not kidding when I say 10 times. Like he's finished inside the top 5 since 2007. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times since 2007.
Yeah.
5th or better, 9th or better. Sorry. So still, I mean, he's got a really good course. I'm not sure if he's actually ever won here, but Tiger actually did win here in 2007. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I kind of like Tiger this week though. I'll be honest. This is the first week that I think I actually used him at the Masters once, but. This is the first week where I'm going to kind of consider him for almost like some kind of core player.
That's what
I don't mind the price. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, there's a lot of people in front of him. I'm not sure if I'm quite ready to pay up for Jason Day. I have no interest in Patrick Reed coming off the Masters, even though I mean Patrick Reed is so insanely competitive. Like I could see him coming out and playing well just because he just does not like to lose. I like Matsuyama. I think Phil I might just give. Again, he hasn't played in a while. I know Tiger's the same thing, but I could go Tiger over Phil here. So I think he's definitely in play. I have some interest in Fleetwood too, but he's only played here once, 61st last year. So I guess the course history, little ding against him. I feel like the good value. Actually, Paul Casey looks like really good value this week, doesn't he? He's usually, especially coming off the win, it kind of feels like a low price, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely interesting this week because it's another one of those times where you feel like anyone can really get it done. So everyone feels like it's a good price, but then you try and make lineups and it's like, well, you can only have so many of them together. So it's tough. I mean, Casey, yeah. I mean, how do you not like him? I feel like it's kind of like a difficult pick up top, just like the Masters was.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially like the top 20 guys, they're all coming in off rest too. A lot of them, like Casey played the RBC, but he's terrible. But you could tell he just was either tired or didn't want to be there. So most of these guys haven't played since Augusta, right? So kind of going to be interesting to see. Obviously, we'll have the survival guide out tomorrow with the data and that and how we rank them from just the pure data. But I don't know what I mean. Obviously, I tweeted out. You kind of tweeted out. I'm always on Louis, but I mean, he played well last week. He opened with the 66th Zurich T2 here last year. So, I mean, he's getting it done off the tee. I haven't looked. His putting was pretty bad at the Masters. He's another guy I think for GPPs I'd probably be interested in. What are your thoughts on Koepka this week? He's a guy I'm really interested in.
I didn't get to watch much last week, so I don't know,
Well, he only played 2 rounds. But
Yeah,
here's
he didn't
okay.
make
I'll
it.
give you the lowdown. I'll give you the lowdown on Kepka, and maybe I'll convince you. But he played with Mark. I can't even pronounce his name. It's Terneza or
Yeah, Trinessa, yeah.
Ternessa. Okay, perfect. Thanks. Who used to be on the PGA Tour. Now he's a realtor. He's legitimately a realtor. He doesn't play on the PGA Tour. But Kepka's friends with him, right? So Kepka went up and said, I want to play with you. Which is really cool, by the way. Just throwing a guy a bone kind of thing. They didn't make the cut, but Brooks shot 67 on his own round one. He said, Ternessa said, the guy looks like he could go win the Masters right now. And Kepka said his game was in just as good shape as before. So, when you hear that and you see that, I'm thinking, wow, 8,600 for Brooks Koepka. And by the way, he's like 40-1 in betting odds too. This course sets up great for Brooks. He's T13 at the PGA last year. I love it, man. This is another. It's just like Hideki too. He's a guy who could just get his season started here. So I just think value-wise, I don't mind taking some Brooks Koepka this week. If people are going to be off him for DFS, that's better. And obviously, we'll get the ownership projections out later in the week. You can find those on Fantasy Golf Metrics too. But I like it, man. Like, it's a little bit of risk, but it's not like he's injured and he's playing through an injury anymore. He's rested. He skipped the Masters, so he was fully healthy. I don't know. I like it. I'd rather get a guy in the uprise than kind of injured or going down, right?
No, of course. I really like it, especially like you're saying for DFS. I think it's a good spot. I think it's a good time to try and get ahead of everyone on this one. I'm not sure I'm betting. I mean, like you said, 40-1, feels like a pretty good price for Brooks Koepka if he's anywhere near, even if he's average and healthy. If he feels like he's playing well and the form is where it was, then yeah, this is probably a really good spot. But I don't know. I could see maybe some momentum getting around that concept as we move forward. But right off the bat, it's again, people could be scared of him.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like that will definitely keep his price down or his projections, ownership projections down a little bit. So I think that'll be good. He might get some momentum from guys like me talking him up a bit, but I just feel like he's too good a fit, too good a player to completely ignore this week. So under Brooks, it does get a little tricky because now we get to like not necessarily all the bombers and stuff, but some guys have been playing well who are priced up a little bit. You mentioned Webb Simpson off the top. Was he a guy who was trending before? Or is it just a guy you've been tracking and you feel like he's kind of ready to put up a big week?
Yeah, I think it's time. I mean, he's looked good. I think a couple people were on him, last time out, but he is headed in the right direction. Especially, I'm a sucker for the hometown narrative or the local narrative, stuff like that. So everything looks like it's in the right direction for him, and I'd be surprised if he doesn't play well this week.
Do you remember what he finished at the PGA last year?
You know what? Normally, like I said, I have the guide in front of me right now, but I'm not going to have it out until the morning. Do you know?
He was T33.
Okay.
So it's kind of interesting. That was actually one of his worst results. That's the only thing I'd say about Webb. I get the angle. I understand why people like him. Like, if this was a little bit of a different course, I might even like him more next week, by the way, at Players. That's going to be interesting because I think that sets up better for him. But I just feel like the course is playing longer now. It's going to play less to his strengths. It's almost like Kisner last year. Like, Kisner was playing so well, but you noticed as the tournament went on, it was just so hard for him to keep up with the big hitters. I just feel like Webb, maybe from a DFS perspective, I could understand. I'm not going to bet him outright, but from a DFS perspective, I could kind of understand it. He's not insanely expensive, and he brings such a good course history that, and like you said, the hometown narrative. So I'm not super high on it just because I do feel like the renovations are so favoritive towards the Bombers, but I get it, I guess.
I have no issue going back to the well on DeChambeau.
It really, I don't have any argument against it either. Like, I mean, what if you look at over, most people's like over the last 12 weeks, over the last 8 weeks, whatever you want to do. I mean, he's going to be at the top of most people's strokes gained tee to green and whatever sort of model you're running, right? He's probably going to, and I assume he's probably going to be ranked high for us by the time we see it tomorrow. So, again, the only knock is he's played here once, but it's really not that big a deal. I think he actually made the cut here. So, 33 last year on the new course, and he wasn't really in as good a form necessarily as he's been playing this year. So, been going toe to toe with the big guys. Almost took down Rory at the Arnold Palmer. 8,000. You know, the only reason I might get off Bryson this week is if he's looking like insanely chalky or something like that. But he's even looking like a okay price betting. I think like 50 to 1 or better isn't that bad. So I guess if you want to make the sort of chalky swerve play, going down to Daniel Berger if he starts to get ignored might be good, or even a guy like Keegan. But yeah, I mean, I think as far as guys who can win, I feel like Bryson at 8K is probably going to be a solid pick this week.
Yeah, I'm looking at like a Simpson, DeChambeau type kind of stack for some cash right now. That's what I'm starting to see. I just feel like they're playing, or they're striking it well enough to play. Yeah, again, I'm not sure if they can get it done in terms of winning, but I'm just looking at some overall form things without, like I said, having the rankings and the guide in front of me. Another guy I know you like. I mean, Sean O'Hare is looking like he's ready to play well. I mean, the putting's kind of up and down, but that's always been, something for him. But he's playing really well. I mean, nothing too exciting, but he's just been really solid this year, kind of consistent overall. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I mean, hey, what are my thoughts? No, I mean, I think it's an interesting spot. I think this is his 4th week in a row, and I know he always plays well as Fargo's, but it's going to be kind of interesting to see. Like, I could see this just being like the week he just kind of opens like with a 74 and then takes the weekend off to get ready for the players. But maybe that happens next week too. He has been playing really well. Like, he played really well Texas. If he doesn't miss a couple short putts on Sunday, he's probably in a playoff or better with Landry, to be honest. So, yeah, I mean, the putting, again, the one thing I'll say about O'Hare too, and this is why I'll probably have some exposure to him in some facets this week, even though I do little concerned about the 4 weeks in a row. He always plays tougher courses better. Like, the tougher the course, the better he plays. Like the year he won in Canada, I think he won at like -6. The year he competed at the Sony Open, it was like a really windy year. It was like -12 winter. The year he almost won at Bethpage Black in the playoff event, it was like a -8 kind of thing. So tougher course, better for O'Hare. Still has the distance off the tee to get it done. I definitely don't mind him. I think most people will be looking at like Adam Scott to save salary, maybe going to like Streelman. Streelman's a great cash game play, I think, but I don't mind Sean O'Hare this week. I'll definitely, like I said, have some exposure in some way. I do worry about the sort of the lengthy, like I said, he's playing a lot, but hey, this is kind of the meat of his schedule. He plays good in Texas, plays good at this event, so I don't mind it. Going up to, I mean, there's definitely some good talent in this field who maybe either just don't look like they're going to be great course fits or just don't come in with good form. Like, I'm talking about mainly the two guys I'm looking at is Gary Woodland and Xander Schauffele.
Yeah, I mean, Xander, I feel like we had something with him in the last couple weeks, and it just kind of went the other direction. Woodland, yeah, I agree. I mean, he's just kind of not. He's just not putting like earlier in the year he was. You know, we have him ranked, as one of the best ball strikers kind of in the world, and I think everyone knows that. But the putting was there earlier in the year. Obviously, he got the win early, but it's kind of just deteriorated back to what it's like for him. So, he needs to find the flat stick again.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like he got the win, and then it's just like he took 5 events off. So, and that happens with guys sometimes. So, but this would be an interesting spot for him to get it started again because he's played well this event. It's been like 3 or 4 weeks since the players. I assume he's probably ready to start posting some results again, like the U.S. Open's coming up and stuff. So, I'm not going to get on him or like bet him or get on him for the win, I don't think. But interesting GPP pick because he has top 5 here at least once, maybe even a couple times, but definitely got a good record. He actually played pretty solid here at the PGA last year too. Again, just a couple screw ups held him back, but yeah, he was T4 here a couple of years ago, so it's a good track for Gary Woodland. In my opinion, it's a really good setup for him. But GPP only. I might have a share or two. I think I'd take him over Xander this week, just because I feel like you said, Xander has been playing and he's kind of headed in the wrong direction. At least with Woodland, we might get a little bit ahead of the curve. I know it's always dangerous trying to hit that, but that's just my take on those two.
No, I agree completely with both of them. I got a question. I'm gonna give you 3 people. Three guys. They're shorter hitters, so that's kind of a concern. But I'm looking at their secret stat and how it's been trending. I want to see what your thoughts are. Um, Brian Harmon, Francisco Molinari, and Adam Hadwin. Of those three guys, that it looks like they're playing well overall, and obviously it's clear that they have. But who do you think can compete here, even though they're kind of shorter hitters, all three of them?
I mean, I think most people would probably just jump and say Molinari, just because he was obviously like in the hunt here last year. Um, so it was Hadwin, Molinari, and who's the last one?
Harmon.
Oh yeah, Harmon. I mean, Harmon's a defending champ. I know it was at Eagle Point, but Eagle Point actually plays. Like if you look at the courses, they're actually pretty similar courses. So, I'm pretty sure Brian Harmon has like a top 10 here too.
I just think people were kind of on Harmon on and off over the last couple of weeks, and I was kind of going against it, but I'm there, so that's kind of why I'm finding it interesting. He's actually been above baseline for a couple events now on the secret stat side. So, that, and obviously one of the best putters in the game. Yeah, I mean, listen, it's not the same course as last year, but I think this could be around the same time he turns it on, like last year.
I think I would probably take Harmon. I like the fact he's played once too. Like he's not coming in just cold from the Masters, kind of like Hadwin is. He's got. This is a good. I mean, this sounds more general than it. This is a good part of the world for Brian Harmon. Like he's from Georgia.
Yeah.
He puts. He just seems to play well in the South a lot. So, actually he was T13 on the new course last year too at the PGA. So I would agree. I would take Harmon of those guys. Molinari's a quality player. Is interesting. I feel like the guy who's probably trending, like you said, though, it's Harmon. So. Yeah, that's going to be that's an interesting pivot because I know we talked about Bryson, but again, if Bryson gets really chalky this week, going to a guy like Harmon, I don't have a problem with that at all. So, and actually, Harmon's price too, if we're just looking. Okay, it was $7,500 at the Masters, but in a regular tour event, this is his cheapest price ever on DraftKings for the year. So, he was $8,000 at the WGC Mexico, but like $9,800 at the Heritage, $8,500 at the Arnold Palmer. So we're finally getting a discount because I remember people were paying up like, oh yeah, I'm paying for like $10K for Brian Harmon, and they were okay with it. So if you're okay with that, I mean, you got to get a piece of them this week, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at so many of these guys. I feel like you could easily have a strong cash lineup just going five guys in like the low eights and feel pretty good. I could see a balanced lineup just being the way to go for cash. I mean, I think you got to get a little more creative if you're trying to go for the larger GPPs, but I see a lot of very, very favorable looking cash lineups, in terms of just confidence levels, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, guys who maybe they don't have like we said, the greatest sort of win probabilities or whatever, but I mean, like a guy like Keegan Bradley at 7,800, he's been making a ton of cuts. Duffner is a cut machine. James Hahn has been playing well. Going down, Benny Ann actually is a guy I'm really interested in this week. I already bet him at 80-1. I love this setup for Ben Ann. Really strong off the tee, good distance. Played actually pretty well here. I think he was like T5 after 36 holes last year at the PGA or something like that, or T8 or something like that. So played really well at the RBC Heritage, which was surprising because it's not really a course you'd figure he'd do well at.
Yeah, it's again. For some reason, I've always had a little bit of a bias against him. I can't get behind him. I know he's a guy that you've supported a good.
He's
amount.
pretty terrible around the greens. Like I'm not gonna lie. I mean, he is still pretty terrible around the greens.
That's the thing. It's like he's not that. He doesn't have that savvy to save him when he needs to be saved. Like he's obviously a great player, phenomenal. A couple parts of his game are really strong, and it's just he can't save himself when he gets into trouble.
Yeah, he's like worst version of Hideki, because Hideki at least has some short game, but Byung-Hun An is like, if he's not hitting every green, it goes downhill fast. But I do feel like this is kind of a course where, again, it's a little bit tougher. The guys who are hitting greens usually get a big advantage over the guys who miss because the course plays fast, it plays tough. So he did play well here last year. That's my vote for him. But I am kind of a sucker for Byung-Hun An. I do like the price though. I mean, we talk about this range. I mean, he'd definitely be a guy I'd throw in there. even going down further, like Luke List is only 7,400. Hey, Luke List, who like people again were okay paying, and I was probably one of them. Actually, I think I faded him. I can't remember, but I mean, people paid 10K for him his last time out.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's 7,400. Luke List should be like 100% owned this week because people were fine paying 10K for him, right?
Yeah.
So
Well, again, everyone got burned a little, so
that's what happens. That's what happens.
every time.
Eventually, the chalk runs out. Eventually, it all runs out, people. But I mean, I don't. Are you going to go back to List here? I mean, is it just like too cheap to ignore? It kind of feels that way, doesn't it?
Yeah. Again, it fits right into that kind of that whole cash lineup. If you want to get someone in the low nines, and then the rest are in the low eights, and then you can get Luke List. Like it's a no brainer. Like in that price range. I mean, there's some guys down in that range that I think are interesting because they're risky plays and they're good for GPP. But there's not really many better players in the sevens. And like you said, he was 10,000 last time out, and he was significantly owned. So how do you not consider him?
Exactly. I mean, it's Streelman. I already mentioned he's coming off 2 top tens. Has a really good record here too. So we got Chucky's 3 sticks at 7,200. Yeah, actually, the more I look at this, I mean, I know I was going through it earlier today, and I'm like, yeah, definitely can make a balance. But now I'm just looking at it. It's almost no point in stacking guys for a cash game lineup. So,
What do you think about? I'm just looking through some of the prices here. Ryan Moore. I feel like I really like what I'm seeing, but like I can't imagine he's going to be significantly owned at 8,500. What do you think?
I've seen a lot of people already talking up Ryan Moore this week.
I hate to hear that.
But at the same time, like Webb Simpson's there, right? Kisner's lower than him. DeChambeau's lower than him. I don't think he's actually going to be that unpopular, though. Like, I still feel like he'll be like 10% at least. I don't think you're going to get him like super, super cheap. Just because, I mean, he's coming off 2 top tens, I think, right? Yeah, well, okay, T16 at the Heritage, but he was kind of in contention there. And then people see the 7th at Valero. Like, I guess, I mean, I'm not... Look, cash game, I guess. I don't really know why you pay up 8,500 for him in a cash game, but I don't know. GPP...
That's the thing. I see it being. I see it making sense. Like obviously, he's not. It's not a secret. But I just look at the price and the names around him. And again, I'll wait to see what Bobby has to say. But it just seems to me like, I guess 10%. I was thinking if you got him at like 7-8%, you got to feel really good about it because he is playing well. Maybe I'm way off. Maybe I haven't.
I think it comes down to how people feel about Brooks Koepka. If people get on Brooks by Wednesday and people are like, oh yeah, he's fine, and Brooks gets up to like 15%, Moore could be like 8% owned.
That's right.
But I just feel like right now, Moore will be more like if we were starting today, Moore would be the more popular player. But that can switch.
Yeah, I see the sandwich between Koepka and Simpson, and obviously, even a couple guys right down there in the low eights if people are going to buy down to Noren and DeChambeau and. But again, even just above them, it's just there's so many people around him that I think that you can make an argument. I imagine it's going to spread, and then when you have to spend that last 8,500, it's like I don't know if it's the sexiest name, but maybe well, again, I guess we'll see how it progresses through the week.
I mean, the thing is he's priced higher, but it's not like so overpriced.
Yeah.
It's not like Luke List 10K, right, where you need him to win. I mean, he's been top 10ing like at actually a really good rate, and he's playing well. So. And he's got a good record here. Again, I just feel like the course changes probably doesn't help a guy like Ryan Moore, but at the same time, he's played well here before. So, yeah, interesting play. Yeah, definitely be looking at Bobby's ownership projections when they come out. So,
I got a couple of darts down below if you want to see what you think.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So, in like that 6,800 to 7,000 range, I'm looking at Baddeley and Diaz, and I don't know if Baddeley's ever really, again, a safe play, but this could be a spot. I think, he really can't hit it well, but he's hitting it about as well as he has in his career right now. Actually, the putting isn't there, but that's what happens. I mean, they play better and then they don't putt, but the putts are you have more. What I feel like is players that play well but are bad putters. It's just. The more they have chances to make putts, the harder it is to increase their strokes gained putting. I feel like the more they give themselves a chance to make putts, it negatively affects them because over a long run, you're just not going to make as many putts. But you know, putting is his stronger suit. So even though he's not putting as well, I think it's just because he's been striking it so well. And it's hard to he'd be winning if he was putting it like his best.
Right.
So you
Yeah,
can't have both.
Because usually Aaron Baddeley is like trees, rough, sand trap, green, sinks like 20-footer for par or something like that.
Exactly.
Right? That's usually where he is on shot length. So, yeah, no, I have been noticing Baddeley actually. It's kind of interesting. Because he is a guy who can just go out and get in contention with his putter when he's striking it well. So that's kind of interesting. And then you said Roberto Diaz, the other guy.
Yeah. He's another guy where he's not a striker and he's a putter. They kind of look very, very similar to what I'm seeing with Baddeley, but he's actually positive. He's significantly above his baseline for secret stat and the putter. I mean, I have him ranked over like a 2-year average 33rd in the field in strokes gained putting, and he's slightly above or just on kind of his baseline there. So again, the way we like to kind of pick our guys is find one or the other. If they're playing it really well, if the secret stats there, the strokes gained putting, if one or the other is above the baseline and one of it's kind of if their core competency is decent and their thing that they're the worst at is as good as it's ever been, then I think it's a time to try and jump on them as might be a scenario where I don't know how confident I am in Roberto Diaz, but it looks like now might be the time that he gets his one top 10. They always say you make like 80-90% of your money in like 3 or 4 events, most of these guys, and if he's going to do that, it seems like now him or Baddeley might be the time that they kind of sneak in that top 10, top 5 to get themselves some FedEx Cup points.
Right. No, I get that. That's interesting, actually, because, put it perfectly. I mean, again, you get the putters when they're striking it well, and eventually they can have a good putting week, right? So, what's your thought? I mean, do you have any thoughts on the amateur, or he's not an amateur anymore, Joaquin Niemann?
Again, there's only so much to kind of look at, but really,
exactly.
really strong outing last time out. I'm excited by it. I mean, I think we've seen many times, some of these young guys, they come out and they're ready to play. I mean, you saw it with Rahm when he first started. You saw it with DeChambeau. Even if they bounce back, because listen, there's a steep learning curve. They're almost too stupid, the young guys, when they first come out. They're so cocky. They think they can play, and then they play well. They don't, if they're hot, they're hot. They don't realize that it becomes absurdly tough if you're not playing the best you've ever played in your life. And obviously, if you're the top amateur in the world and you're kind of trending in that direction, you're pretty confident and you're playing well. So it doesn't surprise me that these guys come out and they get a couple top 10s in their first couple events, maybe bounce back or maybe become, the next superstar. But yeah, I mean, anytime you have a chance, listen, he played in the Masters, he had a top 10 in his first career start. He made $250,000. Like jump on him. You got to feel like you're getting value, and especially in the GPP sense, no?
That's the thing. He's 6,800. Like he's really cheap. I'm not sure if you're just talking pure upside and looking down there. Maybe Trey Mullinax is a slight comparable, but just because he's playing well. But other than that, I'm not sure who brings anything close to the kind of upside that he does. And it's you nailed it perfectly. I mean, it's just these guys come out. They're playing well. They have no fear. They don't know any better, and they just keep playing well until it ends. And eventually they miss a couple cuts, and they're like, "Oh man, this is hard."
Yeah.
But then they get it together eventually, or the season ends or whatever. But no, man. I mean, I think you keep striking till that one's hot. I'm just gonna ride him in lineups. Not like every line. I'm not gonna play him in every lineup or something, but I'm gonna ride him until he stops producing. And right now he's coming off a 6. He's confident. He needs to keep producing if he wants starts. See what happens. I mean, there's no more talent you're getting there's no better talent you're getting for a lower price than Niemann this week. So I just wanted to throw one guy out too, who's actually playing really well. You've mentioned him before. Can't putt.
That sounds like a lot of guys.
He cannot putt. He can't putt. He's 7K. Like, he really can't putt. He's playing well though. 7K. You'll get him.
I'll get him. Hold on. Oh, man.
Used to be a top 10 player in the world.
What is it? It used to be a top. I don't got him.
Nick Watney.
Oh man, he's at the top. There's a lot of guys at 7. I just sit down to listen
There
to
is.
me. Yeah,
There's a
that's
bad
like
range.
there's so many guys on 7,000.
There's like
There's like
20
15 guys. 20. Yeah, Nick Watney. Especially, I liked him. I liked his team with Hoffman last week. They had a really, really poor Sunday. They had a chance.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I didn't comment at the top was I wish they just switched it. What if they just switched it so that the last day you have a chance for a guy to come out, the team to shoot 59, 60.
Well,
and you didn't
that's
know.
what it was last year. Like they switched it. I don't know why they switched it this year. Like it was best ball on Sunday last year, and then they switched it to alternate
That's what
shot.
I mean. Like that would have been so much more exciting. But yeah, I got to see them. I think they shot 4 over alternate shot, and it's so hard. I mean, listen, you saw 60, 80 the first 2 days, but I digress. Let me get back to this. I was thinking about it. Yeah, I mean, Nick Watney, a guy that's just kind of been plotting his way along. Former phenomenal player. I like guys like that, guys that have flash. I mean, that's why we talk about Chris Kirk, things like that. Guys that have won in the past, and they can do it, but they're maybe just not there all the time. And yeah, Watney's he's been playing really well.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm just gonna go over his stats here. But he's made I always like guys who make a lot of cuts in a row because I just feel like there's just Watney's made 9 cuts in a row now. His best finish is only T20, but it was his last time out at the Valeros. Mm-hmm. So he's got a pretty good record this event. He's actually top 10 here, 2013, 2012. Didn't play the PGA last year because I think he was still injured at that point, but I mean he still hits it pretty far. Tee to green, he's been really solid. He actually didn't putt that terribly at Valero, which is kind of good, and it was his best result. So, again, we don't have stuff, we don't have rankings in front of us, but I think he's interesting. Anyways, even if you don't use him this week or he doesn't rake out, just keep an eye on Nick Watney because I feel like before the year is done, you'll see him maybe not win, but post a big result. So. Interesting player. He had a better course history here than I remember. That's why I brought him up. But anyone else from you popping off that we should talk about?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of guys I like this week. It's the problem that I think I'm going to have is that I got a lot of guys that seem better than.
It's a good field.
Yeah.
It's actually it's the more I look at it, it's almost like we're playing a Riviera or something. It's a really good field.
I think we kind of just glossed over Justin Thomas, but why doesn't he go out and win by 4? I wouldn't surprise me.
No, not at all.
I like him this week. But I mean, listen, I'll throw a couple guys in there towards the bottom that have been playing well that seem to show why. I mean, Denny McCarthy's obviously been popping a little bit. Brandon Harkins had a really nice year. Fratelli, some of these names that you've kind of seen sprinkled, they're all trending in a strong direction, and those are guys down towards the bottom middle that I definitely like.
Tyrrell Hatton's in this field. I didn't even know.
Yeah.
He's only 7,400. He's top 20 player in the world. He has his last couple events have been bad, but 7,400. I mean, yeah, interesting. It's that's the thing. When I first looked at the field, I'm like, oh, it's stacked at the top, but it's not that great. But then you keep scrolling down, and you're like, okay, Luke List 7,400, Hatton 7,400, Ollie's in the field. It's stacked. You got Neiman down below. It's a good warm up. Next 2 weeks are good. We got Wells Fargo, then the Players. You got any Players hot tips before we go? Just before any guys you're looking at? Webb is interesting. Now that we talked up Webb, I got to look up Webb's Players history because he's been doing things well. We talked about players who normally putt and scramble well, but Webb normally doesn't do that, but he's been doing that well this year.
Yep. It's kind of been flipped around. There was a point in time, I'm not sure if it's still the case, where his strokes gained putting was better than his tee to green this year. So. I don't have anything specific for next week. It is one of my favorite events. I think that the finishing holes, most specifically 18, is one of my favorite holes in the game. I'm definitely looking forward to it. I don't have anything kind of that I'm pumped for in terms of a player yet. I think I got to see this week's going to tell me a lot because we're getting a nice little stretch of data from a couple straight weeks. Right after the Masters, which always gives you kind of funky data. You never really know what you're dealing with, so this kind of lets us reset and see where we're at. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of guys that are playing well at the top, and some guys that could make some interesting prices as well next week.
If Alex Noren plays okay this week, I'll probably put my house on him next week. I'll just throw that out. I love the way he played in Florida at Honda. Kind of a similar course with a lot of water, tough tee to green. He actually played well with the players last year too. He was in one of the final 2 or 3 groups or something. I think he just had one bad round, but I really like. I'll be targeting Alex Noren next week if he just shows me a bit this week. So that's my guy. Well, not just my one guy, but he's someone I got my eye on, anyways. But yeah, let's get out of here. If you're interested in checking out the site, do check out fantasygolfmetrics.com. I'll probably be doing a short video with the lineup builder every week. I'll be throwing that out just on Twitter this week. Might get it up on YouTube or something like that. But check those out. I'll just be going through like a few guys that I like, going through the lineup builder every week. Lineup builder's awesome, by the way, if you haven't checked it out yet. But definitely we got fantasy draft capability on there now too, right? We can spit out 7 players.
Yeah, so that was the thing. We only had it going for the 6 players for FanDuel and DraftKings, but yeah, now we have it. It'll spit out 7, and you can export them now.
And fantasy draft is like, I mean, look, DraftKings obviously guys is the big events, but I like fantasy drafts format too. Like
I love it. I have been
7
playing.
You've been killing it.
I've been dominating it. It pains me that they don't have like some large events they're getting. But it's a great site for cash, and these smaller kind of events. I mean, they'll get there. They'll eventually expand to some larger GPPs. But you're right. I think the format's the best. I think it makes it more creative, and for whatever reason, the players that I've liked have fit into the lineups over there. I can't say enough about that. So maybe that's why I like the format. But
I mean, the 7 players things is cool too. I mean, it drops a player, takes your top 6 scores. It's just another layer of strategy, right? You can go boom or bust. Yep. I feel like so. Anyways, but definitely check that out. It's like I said, lineup builder is now capable for that, which is really cool. So I'll also be doing now, since DraftKings is doing like single rounds instead of weekend golf, I'm going to be updating like the in-play blog with tee times and a little bit of weather info too. So check that out. So I'll be updating that like starting Wednesday. I'll have a couple articles out coming up soon. But let's head her off. Let's head her off here with our picks for the week. Who you got, Steve?
I'm gonna make
no data in front of Steve this week.
I'm making this one.
He's riding solo.
Pretty simple. Like I think Justin Thomas. I just said it there at the end. Without looking at anything to take any kind of gutsy pick. It's just, he's a guy that when I look at these stats and these charts, when he is playing well, he plays well. There's these, some guys they kind of confuse it where it looks like they're going to play well and they don't. But he's a guy that if it looks like he's going to play well, he generally does. So I like him again.
All right. I like it. I mean, like, how can you not pick against Justin Thomas? People are probably so sick of me picking Louis, but I'm going with Louis here, man. Like, this is almost like do or die time for Louis. This is like team. If he doesn't win soon, it's like he's getting off team fantasy grind. Like, I'm gonna have to replace him with like Koepka or something like that. But I'm going Louis here for the win. He's got to get it done soon in the U.S., man. He can't just keep riding that Open Championship from 2010. I do like the setup for him in all seriousness. Off the tee, he's been killing it. I like the fact he played well last week, too. So he's my pick. We'll get it done one day, buddy. But thanks a lot for tuning in, guys. Check me out at The Fantasy Grind on Twitter. Steve at FG Metrics on Twitter. Have a good Wells Fargo Championship. We'll talk to you again next week.
Take it easy.